Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Jumpstart. I am Jason Meyer, and some days you show up in exactly the right time, at exactly the right time, in precisely the wrong place. And that's where we are this morning, so let's see how this goes. For any of you YouTubers out there, we are be posting this after, so my apologies if you missed it live. But any people from Facebook who stumble upon it, welcome. And this usually occurs over um, on YouTube rather than at Facebook. So, but most mornings we look at students' work and give feedback and what's next. This morning we're going to do a little bit of that. Then we're going to do some exercises in charcoal. So we've got everything set up right here. So you've got your nose right on my paper, and we can go into some exercises that's going to sensitize your touch a little bit. Okay? So if you got charcoal around, you got some toned paper, some white chalk, grab those things as we get set up. And probably about 5 or 10 minutes into this, we'll get some going on the exercises. But first, let's have a look at what Miss Sue has done, because she's done some really nice stuff. There we go. So, Sue, yes, 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 yes. Right? I love what we're doing with the book here. Getting just that little bit of light on the top, and then showing this front plane with the difference. And I loved how the front plane isn't so even, right? It's enough to see, but we don't have to spell out every square inch of it. So great job, great job. A nice ending over here. And I noticed that it's really nice how you just added that little bit of glow, like the light's coming in from there. And this, things like that make such a difference, such a difference. So this is looking really nice. We've got to be careful with the white in the eye. I think some of the edges, like this light right before we go into the dark, that's a little hard. I would soften that a little bit. And then this is the shadow side, right? The light's coming in from here, so this is turned around. So we're gonna have to play that way down and maybe just a bit softer on that edge. But you've got the right idea. We're going from here to here, so maybe on the outside of these edges, if we soften that up, that would be a little gentler, right? A little gentler. And then maybe a little softness there. Overall, I think yes, 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 and yes. The last thing I would do is, even like if this is on the light side here, we want to get the feel of this turning under. So see if we can't maybe get just the slightest bit of shadow underneath here, and as his hands turn away, like that there, and instead of kind of going mucky, let it go, and I apologize if this is the photo, but I would let it go a little warmer, even redder, like some of these reds here. That'll be kind of the shadow tones, right? Even this shadow we could warm up a little bit, and then that warm would come all the way through there, and if we kept it nowhere else but right here in the center, that's going to be so cool. But you've brought this a million miles, and I think you're doing fantastic. I think it is fantastic. And as I see, I'm being a little persnickety here, but it does make a big difference. I don't know that I would put these highlights here, right? Because a highlight up here says the light's coming this way. So I would sneak that highlight down here in this corner, right? Just so it would all come right there. Boom. And probably the same thing there. Boom. Okay, so if you wanted to keep pushing, I mean, you've already taken this a million miles, but if you want to keep pushing, there's a couple of suggestions for those couple of things. Man, hats off. Hats off. Hats off in the library. Hats off to you. That's a good job on that. And I love how you put him in the scene. That's so cool. A lot of you guys are doing more and more of that, and it's so fun to see you guys use your imagination for that. So good job, Sue. Good job, good job. So hopefully you'll find this on YouTube later and see it. Cindy will get you a link, so we'll make sure you hook up with that since I messed up. Hey, there's somebody found me. Somebody found me. Yeah, I've been wandering around showing up in the wrong places. So, but it looks like people are starting to find their way over. All right, so we just finished up with a look at Sue's, and I gave her a little bit of feedback on that. I think it's just fantastic. So good job. Great job. And we'll bring this back Friday if I don't hear from you again, so everybody can see it. Because I know they like following your progress. They love following the progress. All right. So as I said at the beginning of the show, we're going to do something slightly different today. Why not shake it up a bit, huh? And we're going to do some, I want to start introducing some exercises you can do, right? To kind of sensitize your touch, get yourself, you don't always have to do a full-on drawing or a full-on painting. You know, sometimes there's not that much time or that much energy. So what are some exercises we can do? Okay, Sue finally found her. Hey, Sue, you did great. You did great. So we'll make sure to get the link to you so you can see the beginning of the video. But fantastic. Fantastic, Sue. All right. Great, great, great. So why don't we jump in? And so what I have here is I've got compressed charcoal. So we're going to get dark, or what I call a number 4 value out of this. You see how that naturally goes dark? And then the question is too is always, how does it smudge? Right? The smudginess of the thing is always real important. So, you know, sometimes you just want to warm up in the morning to see what your material can do. Right? Just in case you forgot. Just in case you forgot. And believe it or not, you're going to forget quite a bit. But so that'll be number 4. Should I go ahead and label that? And then for number 3, we'll use, I think this is a willow charcoal, willow or vine. But you just want a little weaker charcoal, one that doesn't make as dark of a mark. Right? So generally speaking, if it's the same like the willow or compressed or whatever, the harder the charcoal, the weaker or lighter the mark, right? So if you want really, really dark, you're going to go to softer, because softer will give and stain the canvas more. Okay, so even our dark here is a little weaker than that, and we usually don't want to use that at that value. Usually what we do is we come up here and we knock it down a little bit. Spread it out. So that would be a dark number 3. But I could also do a lighter number 3. Right, just as you can see with the compressed charcoal with our number 4, we can get really dark, or we can open it up. Right? It's some of these open qualities that the exercises are geared towards today. Okay? So let's call both of those were number 3. And then just the tone of the paper is what we want to think about for number 2. The kneaded eraser here, we use that for number 2 to get back to the tone of the canvas. Okay, so we can do some drawing with the kneaded eraser, and we have our white chalk. Oops. There we go. White chalk. So there's all 4. And students learn this at first, okay, they take, and then they want to move on. Well, there's no need to move on from this, right? The moving on is get better at handling this, at making patterns out of these, and good shapes, and learning the language of what all you can do here. And you can do quite a bit. All right, so now that I've shown you what materials we're going to use, I like to start with my Vine charcoal. The reason being, it's the most forgiving. Okay? And what we want to do here is, I want to draw a little scene. I'm going to do a whole little scene here, and it's just going to be an orange. We're going to have a little orange. We're just going to make this up out of our head. So I'm going to do size and placement. How big do I want this thing? How big? I don't want too big because I want to be able to do this. So what if we made that orange something about that size? Okay? And then actually, yeah, we'll just go for 1 right now. The next to this orange, I want a grape leaning on it so that it casts a shadow, and also that it's off the ground, so we've got a nice negative shape right in here. Cast shadow. And in this cast shadow, what I'd also like is a grape or 2 that are sitting in the shadow as a silhouette. So let's size and place some grapes here, and these grapes then, I want tumbling and stumbling, and then have a little stem, and I'd like those to kind of emerge out of the darkness. Okay, so I'm just talking about an idea, right? I'm just talking about an idea, and the idea is we've got an orange with some grapes leaning up against it, leaving a nice negative space here. And then those grapes are going to kind of tumble and be stacked. And then all of that's going to come out of a large, kind of dark, shadowy thing. So this is all out of our imagination. This is just completely made up. You can start, if you want to, just doing this with a simple grape or a simple orange. I wanted to, since we've got this time, try to get through a whole simple, small composition. Okay, so I've got my whole composition set up here, right? Meaning I've got the idea pretty strong in my head. So now what I want to do is I want to develop this. But the point of this exercise is, how can we develop this picture and leave as much of it open as possible? Okay, and if you don't know what I mean by open, what I mean is, do we have to outline that grape all the way around? How much of that can we just let completely stumble, fade, go right through into the next thing? And when we do that, what we're literally doing is those marks and those values are transcending the object. If you'll do that with your objects, your work immediately takes on a more presence, if you will. Okay? So let's zoom in here a little bit so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And again, this is meant as exercises, warmed up, right? You can do anything from a simple grape. By the way, how big is that? Look, it's smaller than my thumbnail. Right, so my orange here, what is that, about 2 fingers? So my grapes are going to have to be smaller than my thumbnail. So you don't have to work this small, But just to sit, you don't have to have these ideas, 50 inches by 60 inches. And then what is this? Well, this is really about this dark shape coming to fruition and then traveling through here in an interesting manner. And if we end with just a line of a cast shadow, is that interesting? No. So we could throw some grapes and stuff in that cast shadow to, again, finish that dark shape off more interesting. Okay? So one of the things I'm doing is, okay, how can with these very simple things, an orange and a few grapes, can I make something very, very interesting? So we have an interesting idea. We have simple things we're working with. And now we want to work from the inside out. From the inside out. So what I mean by that is, why don't we just start with that negative shape of that grape falling onto our orange. And if you're not sure how, to do oranges and where these shadows are coming from, there's on our online school, there's a whole course on basic forms of charcoal, and this is where this all comes from. But after you know the basic forms and you know the difference between opacity and transparency, you can do all this. So if that grape is overlapping like that, so then the bottom of this shape will go here. Because remember, what am I doing? I'm working on that negative shape. And then maybe that's sitting on top of another grape. So what do I have? So I've got a nice solid hold right now. Does everybody see that? Look at that. Boom. We've got you. We've got you, we've got you, we've got you. So now let's just work our idea and work our way out. But I don't necessarily want to close everything down like I just closed down this negative shape. It's important to have a few things closed down, but usually people are trying to close down objects. Right? Notice what I did here. What I closed down was a negative shape, not a singular object. Okay? All right. And then, yes, if this was a cast shadow, it would follow the form, and so that would be curve. But for the purpose of design, I've got this curve here. I need to make a statement right here. And so I'm going to use a straight. And then this side of the orange will be the shadow side. I'm going to get some, take care of some of that loose charcoal. In a real art studio, you just kind of blow this off or set it off in the trash can. But with the camera equipment and everything, I got to be a little more delicate. I got to be a little bit more delicate. All right, and like usual, I forgot to set my timer because I was a little befuddled for showing up in the wrong place. So let me get that down so I don't lose track of the entire universe here. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we're doing our shadow. And so rather than seeing how much we can do at a time, let's see how well we can do it. So we have this negative shape here. And then we're going to have a negative shape also. And look, is that flat straight line? Can I ask you a personal question? Do you mind giving me some honest feedback? Okay, don't be embarrassed. Is that sexy? Is that sex? Nah, not really. That's not very sexy. That's not very sexy. When? Well, I mean, what? What if that line just had a little more action to it? What if we worked at a diagonal up to that? And then here, not quite straight, but almost, and we'll let go there a little bit. Then let's go back to the center of this. Soften this interior edge. So you can see with not even having complete things here, the objects are already emerging. And this is the idea, is we want the feeling of the emergence. Okay? So we're clearly working with our 4 values. And we're working with an idea with some simple grapes and an orange. And a concept. How's the song go? 3 chords and the truth. 4 values and a piece of paper. Miss Janny, I'm glad you're back and glad you found us. Evidently I've been stumbling around the internet today, not knowing where I'm going. Nothing new, nothing new. That's why it's a good idea just to keep me at home, I think. Keep me at home so I don't get too lost. So we're doing a little exercise today, and this is about developing your touch. Not only your touch, but basically your process of working. So what I'm asking you to do is work more from the inside out here. Right? We didn't start at the edge of what we were doing. We started on the inside of what we were doing. Okay, we'll clean. So I'll use the eraser to pick up that light a little bit. And now let's start developing this, right? So why would I start developing this before getting to any of this other stuff? Well, you're going to see this is going to be the inside out approach. All right, we got the crew here. We're going to start waking up here. And no, I can't believe it, Claudia. You don't have anything to say? I get it, though. I get it. But I'm glad you're warming up. Speaking of that, maybe I'll have a little sip of something to warm me up. Maybe we can up the pace here, up the personality. This is about a sensitive touch, but, you know, I got to keep you guys awake. Got to keep you guys awake. Everybody still awake? We need a little scene change. A little scene change there for a second. All right. So now that you know how I drink my little tea, we can go back and get to work. So same procedure. We've got our size and placement. Now I start with my number 4. The difference here is I didn't finish my number 4 edge to edge. Now I want to come in and think about that background. And rather than thinking about the background over here where I start, I want to think about how I want the background right here. Right? How do I want this to look when it gets here? So in other words, I'm going to use the background I need here to find that, rather than starting over here and hoping I end up at the right background when I get there. It doesn't sound like much, but that little change in approach makes all the difference. What I'm going to do right here behind the grape is I'm going to lose that edge of the orange. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave a little bit of light right around the base of that orange. Right, so what I'm doing is I'm focusing you right here. Okay. Why? Why are we focusing? Well, we're focusing right there because we've trapped the eye. But again, we're still feeling open because we haven't trapped them inside an object. Right? So instead of feeling caged, the viewer feels like, ooh, look at that exciting tunnel that I could run through. Right? It's more like an adventure. And who doesn't love a little visual adventure? And then notice something else I'm going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and lightly run straight through my orange. But notice how I didn't do that side. Now let's come back and let's pull that orange out again, but this time from the center. Let's work, and then let's work over, not from the edge of the grape all the way over there, but just in the center here. Let's work over. The kneaded eraser, you can shape it how you want it. That's why we want a kneaded eraser. So sometimes I try to get a little finer point on it so it's not so clumsy. And then I'm just going to work this in an outward direction. Okay, so I get a nice hard edge right there. And then the stump, I'll even my tone out. But just so we have a mountain pass to get supplies in and out of here, let's make sure we go ahead and just keep that passageway open. And then let's go ahead and just blow that out. So let's see, who's here? Is anybody ready for a truth? Is anybody ready for a truth? All right, so I think a few of you advanced people are here. So see if, because the look you're going for, the openness, the aliveness, has to do with trapping something that's not an object, but some negative shapes. And then also making sure the light can be seen, but isn't trapped. Right? In other words, look at the difference between the feel of the tone of the paper here, which is exactly the same as the tone of the paper right there. But take a deep breath. And experience, right? Let it in your nervous system, the difference. And what do these three spots do? They form a triangle, don't they? So we have a lot of stability here and a lot of activity. Okay, I hope we're not going too slow. I hope we're not going too slow. So we got a highlight that's going to happen in the center. And again, most people usually when they do the highlights, we start out making them way too big. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much, right? Um, and again, do I want to highlight that? Well, do I want that action? Or would kind of a little slower action work? So we're in a sense completing this before we've even started that, if that makes sense. So we definitely have something in the lead here, and now we want to develop some other things a little bit, but always making those less and less and less and less. And if we do ever make those more, well, we're going to have to make this even more, right? So we kind of have a king of the hill here. Yeah, so Janny says the space under the grapes feels like it's like pulling you back, right? Well, yeah, because you know what to some of us might remember. I don't know if you guys are fans. Poltergeist. We had it in a lot of different forms. But go towards the light. Go towards the light. We can't help but go towards the light. Right? It literally almost pulls the viewer in there. But it's a negative space, and that's why it doesn't feel like they're being pulled into a cage, but they're pulled into an adventure. Okay, so now, we want to walk off from this. So maybe I need a smaller, little simpler negative shape. Here, let's let some grapes come up too, so it's not a straight line. They could be stacked. Notice I've got just a dark shape that's not quite so made out and not so quite definite. All right, so this is that nothingness back here that we want to kind of come out of. Okay, so that's that end, and then this end, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? You know what we're gonna do? Is we're gonna let a grape stem Is this a little bit more interesting shape than just a single grape over there? And again, have I locked in a negative shape for you? And is it different and similar to the other negative shape? Right, do you see that? So it's kind of repetition, symmetry in the sense, but at the same time variety. And I could leave a single grape over there. Maybe we'll just act like that's all in shadow. That's right there is all in shadow. And then can we just step off? So this is just touch. Right, so that, can we start to make those couple of grapes just less than those first grapes? But more than what's before it. Okay, so this is the exercise. You're working on degree, measure, and you're working on your touch. All right, Jenny. How am I going to put that tiny bug in there with this big old piece of charcoal? I can't even. But yeah, it's all a matter of scale, right? Because the orange is just not even 2 fingers big. But yeah, if you had something down here that for scale, so that's why it doesn't really matter the actual size, but it's the relationship. The relationship. All right, so how's everybody doing? Are you guys catching up on this? So I'm going to stop explaining for a minute. Looks like I've got 9 minutes before my buzzer goes off. Then we have a few minutes left. And I'm going to try to execute a little more. So you guys can just watch for a minute and see how this goes. We'll see if we can keep that right in the middle of the screen for you guys. And all right, so let's see what I can do here. So darker, richer up front. Okay, so here's another little hint here. Just a little bit. I got my something, my finish. And then I didn't just immediately stick my absolute nothingness in, did I? But I'm kind of going over to the, and just, let's wipe those out. And by doing that, I can leave a little bit of this a little bit more open. So I can decide how I go. I don't have to make a decision before I can see it. Okay. Okay, so we're getting a feel for this thing. Look, I mean, this whole thing is smaller than my hand. But we've got a complete, beautiful composition, and I'd just like for you to see how far you can take it. Okay? How far can you take it? And I want you to ask the question of how far you can take it along with the question of how little can I put in? How little can I put in? How little can I do and take it all the way? Okay, because then what you're challenging yourself to do is to put in less and make it mean more. So it really makes you kind of dig down deep. And why is this? Boom, boom, boom. And don't noodle it to death. Thou shalt not doodle your work to death. Should be a commandment. Let's just make it a commandment. Okay? So saith Jason, thou shalt not doodle your artwork to death. All right, do we all feel better about that? Now that we've got a commandment to work by. Now all of this is still gonna... Right, notice how that cast shadow gave it a presence? That still feels a little funky there, a little funky. So why don't we go all that? And then what I'm thinking is maybe there's one last little hint of a negative shape down here. And then also, since we have that, well, okay, so in my time, that's about what I got. Okay, so the idea of this exercise is to have a clear concept with very, very simple objects. I'm calling this an orange. It's just a basic sphere, right? With some grapes, which are translucent or transparent. And we could work more on that. You know, if there was more time, what I would probably do is I would come in and start developing, like, say, the transparency on this grape. Right? Even with your eraser, you can have touch. You don't have to have all of it. And then to kind of keep this going, we could pop right back up here. And even on this undefined grape, I could give it a slight highlight. All right, I got a little big there because well, because it's so awkward working that small with these big pieces of chalk. You don't have to work this small. But anyway, anywho, that's a test of some of the exercises we're going to be doing. I'm going to introduce next month. And then in, I think it's May, when we start, we're going to start with the simple stuff again. But we want to, right, develop our touch such that this very simple stuff, we can still make it just absolutely stunning. Right? Stunning, stunning, stunning. Stop them in their tracks. So this isn't about right or wrong. It's just about kind of training your hand. And, you know, I did a rather long study. But like I said, you can do a single grape. Right? You could do a single orange. But see how open you can leave it. Right? And notice that my ending is kind of more in the center. I didn't absolute end with my hardest edge out there. But can I let each of these edges kind of merge, emerge, and merge back? Right? That's the feeling we want. And it's amazing how much that little stuff really matters. How much it really matters. All right, we're going to wrap up here in half a second. All right, and I think that's there. All right. Okay, let's see. Where are we at? What's my name? Where am I? It's what happens when you get lost. When you get lost in the art for a little while, it takes there's a transition back to the real world. So, again, the idea is simple practices, but the emerging, and the emerging is the easiest done if we start from the inside and work out. But before we can do that, we've got to have a sense and an idea of the whole. But it doesn't. Right, you can have a sense of the whole very simply, and I would suggest do a simple grape, do a simple orange, right? And then as you get better and get a sense for the material, then let's come down and, all right, what kind of composition can I make from this, right? And how little can I put in and still have something somewhat interesting? All right, boom, enough of the beauty, back to me. And that, look at that, definitely 10 minutes short. 10 minutes short, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad a few of you guys made it over here. Like I said, showing up in the wrong place at the right time. Does that count for anything? I don't know. I don't know. But it's what happened today. So we'll post this on YouTube, so it'll be there if you guys want to go back later as you're doing this yourself or as a reminder. And next month in class, we're going to be finishing up things you've started or your own work. And then the following month, we're going to take kind of a deep dive, I think, into the simple still lives, but getting more out of them. So that should be a fun month for everybody. Okay, let's see. Today is Wednesday, so that means Masterworks tonight on YouTube. If I end up in the right place, and I will. I'll end up on YouTube tonight. At 7 o'clock, we'll look at some Masterworks and maybe see how they got their inside out and how that look affects, when you do that, how it affects the look of your painting. All right, until then, have a good day in the studio, everybody. Love you guys. Paint, 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 draw, draw, draw. Have fun, have fun, have fun. Bye, everybody.